Okay, good morning, everyone. There's still a whole table over here for seats. There's a couple seats in the middle here, one at this table, so come on in. A lot of folks in the back clustered over there. Okay, everyone, and anyone else want to make their way to the front? Okay, good morning, everyone, and thank you so much. Welcome to the new Civic Pavilion at City Hall Plaza. We're very excited to debut this new space, and thank you to Chief Irish and the whole operations and facilities team for including this in the renovations as a really important way for any community group to be able to have space that is right here available, and so we're eager to take advantage of this for today's exciting gathering. We are here to present our administration's second budget, and I'll tell you the second time around feels a lot more intentional and able to think about how all the pieces can fit together. We had a new process internally this year where rather than asking every single department for long memos and proposals and justifications and then kind of trying to sort through a lot of paperwork and pick from each one in a silo, the finance team really sat down with every single department and had direct conversations to really understand the whole context and then be able to piece together how all of the investments we make can be coordinated and cut across silos that had previously existed and get to the larger investments and operations that we're trying to make happen. We are still, of course, as each one of you in this room feels every day, still feeling the now receding but long-standing impacts of the pandemic. And while we're no longer in as much of an immediate crisis and emergency mode, there are still many, many pieces for our young people, for families, for infrastructure that we're seeing needing to continue getting attention. A couple of points that I want to mention before I pass it over to our colleagues on the council and then cabinet members to really dive into the details of this budget. We are looking to ensure that Boston is, of course, charting new ground and leading the way on all the major issues that we're working on. But this budget really is an intentional investment in getting back to basics as well. There are many things, because of the all-hands-on-deck emergency nature of the last few years, that didn't get as much attention. Processes that are now relying on employees who are technically wearing 2 or 3 hats to do because there were vacancies, or facilities and infrastructure needs that had not been directly addressed in some time and delayed because of more urgent constituent-facing immediate needs. And so we really tried to work with departments to get at those sometimes invisible but so fundamental core operations needs, whether it is administrative or on the technical and IT infrastructure side, or how to coordinate better among departments. So we want to make sure that rather than just always announcing new things and new things and new things, and certainly there's some great new things here, the focus also has to be on doing what we already do well and making sure that the work is sustainable for the workforce that is undertaking that work. And so that was a big foundation for this year's budget. Another big piece is really trying to knit together all of our investments and programming and work to ensure that Boston is the best place in the country to raise a family and to support residents in a multi-generational family. We want to be first for families anywhere across the country. And that you'll see the groupings of our investments in a couple different categories, making sure that residents are healthy and safe, making sure that our city is green and growing and therefore prepared for the future, making sure that we are delivering exceptional constituent services, closing the racial wealth gap, and really providing resources for every generation to thrive. This is a budget that is about people. The people of our city, our residents and constituents, and also the people who work for the city of Boston, who now are finally, what percentage, where's Lou? What percentage are we at now? 85% under contract for our workforce, starting from 0 at the beginning of the administration. And what having a functioning and updated contract means for our city workers is the cost of living increases that actually match what they are experiencing in putting food on their own tables. It's recognizing the work that went on throughout the pandemic in person in extremely scary and often dangerous situations without having an active contract, and therefore the recognition of that. So much of the budget also will be investing in the contracts that have been settled now, and we continue to work to close that final gap and make progress there. Finally, before I hand it over, I just want to thank so much our budget team. We have great news. Can I share the news? Okay, so I don't want to steal anyone's thunder, but we just received word in the last few days that Boston has been affirmed in its AAA bond rating by both bond ratings agencies, Moody's and S&P. And this is the city's 9th year in a row of attaining that level of not only top accreditation, but therefore cheaper borrowing rates for us to be able to fund our infrastructure and keep making investments in our communities. So, of course, at this point, our administration and the department heads and cabinet chiefs and everyone have spent a lot of time coordinating with our budget department. Now we enter a new phase, so there's a little bit of a sigh of relief that the first draft is able to be presented to you all, and now we hand it over to our friends and colleagues on the City Council to turn over every single line item and host all the hearings and engage in dialogue about what these dollars will actually mean in delivering impact for families. So I'm really grateful and thankful to every member of the City Council. Thank you for being with us today and for all that you do. I'd like to hand it over to City Council President Ed Flynn.
Thank you, Mayor Wu. Thank you, Mayor Wu and the Mayor's budget team for your leadership and vision in preparing this budget. I also want to recognize all of my city councilors that are here as well in the tremendous work that they are doing in working closely with the Mayor and the Mayor's team on quality of life issues and providing a path, a future for all residents of Boston. This city budget is a reflection of our values and the city's priorities. As city councilors, it is important to strive toward a fiscally responsible budget that will deliver basic city services and provide resources to Boston's residents. It is also critical we address quality of life issues, neighborhood concerns, support the most in need in our neighborhoods, provide an exceptional quality public education to every student, and provide expanded services for our BPS families. Ensure public safety. I want to recognize an outstanding police commissioner we have as well, Police Commissioner Cox. And make critical investments that move our city forward. Today, we will see the first version of this budget, and for the next 2 months, we will work together with the Mayor and her team to ensure that this is a budget that is fiscally responsible and meets the needs of our residents, but makes critical investments for the future. We may not always agree, and I'm respectfully asking all of us to work together, to listen to each other, and try to make this the most productive process possible. I look forward to working with the outstanding chair of the Ways and Means Committee, Councilor Tanya Fernandez-Anderson, and all of my colleagues and the administration on this budget. Thank you. At this time, I would like to recognize the chair of the Ways and Means Committee, Tanya Fernandez-Anderson.
Thank you, Council President Flynn, and everyone here. It's going to be an interesting process because there's so much work to do in terms of understanding where the direction that we're going and how to work together in terms of the amendment process. I've worked with the administration to be able to come to some sort of agreement in terms of how we set precedents last year in the budget, as well as the different nuances or caveats or things that are not very clear for public consumption. I'll do my best to be able to communicate that to the public in terms of how or what amendment powers we have. Then there's the balance between conversations between departments and the community. The departments make recommendations for the budget. The counselors make recommendations, and the community makes recommendations. The balance of the three, I think, is going to heavily rely on the amendment process. But then the budget itself, the operating budget itself, is already solid. And then how do you figure out what to move around in terms of racial equity or in terms of services? If you have an administration that is doing an amazing job at looking at all of these nuances, at looking at all of these different disenfranchisements or historic harms, how do you create a process that is going to move funds that hopefully, God willing, will atone for the harm? And I think that I take this process very seriously. It's one that I am very thankful to my colleagues, to Council President Flynn, to my colleague, Councilor Arroyo, and the rest of my colleagues to come to the consensus that I should be the first Black woman chair of Ways and Means. It hasn't been easy overall to be able to advocate and to communicate with the people of Boston, to be able to fight for what is right and what is true while standing as a 5-foot-tall woman, Black woman. This is my reality. I am a woman. I am a Muslim woman. I am a Black Muslim woman. I'm a Black Muslim immigrant woman. I am a lot of these subcategories. I am a single parent. All of the things that I wear with pride are the very things that historically in our city have been stereotyped or approached as something to ignore. And so my job in the city council has been to humanize people like myself and to be able to see my district as a whole person that has these holistic needs that then I would go into advocating for their needs. Then I look at the budget, and in 1 year, remember now, I just became a citizen in 2019. So I literally would Google what is a policy while I'm waiting for a form. And then you have to hurry up and learn and study this budget, and I did. So I have nothing to prove to anyone. Obviously, if I want to do this, I do it. If I want to run for office, I do it, right? God has been great. But then now, how do you be fair? How do you do it in an equitable way, this word that everybody uses? Well, the budget is balanced. Everyone should get exactly what that's in the budget. How do you move it around? How do you do that responsibly? And how do you convince your colleagues that some of their recommendations may be sometimes unrealistic, most of the times, yes, for their district, because everybody's fighting and representing their district, but in the end, there's only so much money to move around. And then there's all of this stuff that goes with it, this political contention and back and forth and transactions and conversations and relationships, some of the stuff that I'm not good at. But it's necessary. And in our humanity, we do that, and we try to do that with kindness, and we try to do that to the best of our ability. And hopefully, in the end, we've been fair to one another. Hopefully, in the end, we see each other, as Council President Flynn always says, with respect. And hopefully that we acknowledge each other and as less than, and we're more gracious and forgiving when we are not. Happy Ramadan to you all, and to me, to us. My fast ends the 23rd, so this very dramatic tone will probably end then, and I'll be back to my hyper self. I look forward to transparency. I look forward to effective communication. I look forward to working with all of you as leaders, some of you that I've gotten to know. All of you like me, of course, but some of you that I will eventually convince to like me. I look forward to talking with you and doing the right thing, God willing. Thank you.
I would also like to acknowledge my city councilors that are here, including Councilor Louis Jean, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Coletta, Councilor Baker, Councilor Orell, Councilor Arroyo, Councilor Lara, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, who did an outstanding job here a few minutes ago, Councilor Block, Councilor Braden, and Councilor Flaherty. I hope I didn't miss anybody. Thank you.
Okay, I think it's my turn. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Ashley Grafenberger. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the city. And I'm pleased to be here with you today to present the Mayor's recommended fiscal 2024 operating budget and 5-year capital plan. First, I'd like to thank Mayor Wu and her team for their leadership, my colleagues across the cabinet for their partnership and collaboration in developing this budget. But most importantly, I'd really like to thank our budget director, Jim Williamson, and the entire budget team that's hiding in the back of the room, as good budgeters want to do, for all of the work behind the scenes the last couple of months to create the budget that we're talking about today. So I think this is how this works. Okay, so today we're presenting a comprehensive budget plan, a $4.28 billion operating budget for the next fiscal year, and a $4.2 billion capital plan that really seeks to invest in every generation to empower our city's future, but also make those intentional, invisible investments in the types of things that make our city work better and faster for our residents. The overall growth in our budget is really attributable to a solid rebound in our local receipts, like our excise revenue, so meals tax, hotel tax, paired with the strength and stability of our property tax base. And that property tax really makes up a majority of the revenue in this budget, well over 3/4 of that budget. This revenue really allows us to meet our long and fixed and long-term obligations, sustain mission-critical services, and address long-standing pain points across our city operations, while also making those critical new investments across the city. And here in Boston, we know that none of this is possible without a commitment to responsible financial management. And so, as the mayor shared, really happy to share that for the 9th year in a row, we've received a AAA bond rating from both Moody's and S&P, which allows us to maximize our dollars towards building our city's infrastructure. Very exciting. So the investments included in this comprehensive budget plan really builds on an all-funds approach, inclusive of our annual operating budget, our 5-year capital plan, as well as the multi-year investments that were made through the American Rescue Plan in the last year. So some of the investments we'll hear about today will sort of encompass all of those sources. We're leveraging all available resources to support new initiatives as well as deepen investments in our existing services to better serve our residents. So at this point, I'm going to start to turn it over to my colleagues who are going to tell you what is actually in it. First, I am going to turn it over to our Chief of Equity and Inclusion, Mariangeli Solis-Severa, who will say a few words about how this budget is rooted in equity.
Buenos días. Ay, otra vez. Buenos días. Good morning, everybody. Mariangeli Solis-Severa, Chief of Equity and Inclusion. It's an honor to be here with you all. And I'm going to go to my remarks, but the mayor said back to basics, and I've heard a recurring theme already that I want to tell a little story about. This morning, on my way to work, I called a mentor advisor of mine, this like older gentleman, veteran, that has like a very strict routine. And sometimes I call him to be like, hey, I have this random formality to do today. Do you have advice? And he's like, what is it? And I say, oh, the budget breakfast. He's like, ¿Qué es eso? What is that? And I was like, what is this? I explained to him, and he's like, ay, nena, eso no importa. Lo que importa es que ayudes a la gente. That doesn't matter. Focus on what's important is getting essentially back to the basics and helping people. And so I'm really excited for the conversation that we'll be having today. And my homies at the budget office, you have all been incredible in all of this and really learning collectively what is equity in this complex organization, and how do we actually look at our past, restore some of these harms, and look forward to a future that we know is very possible. Look around you. So a couple of things that I want to say is, as you'll hear from a lot of our colleagues today, we are taking the necessary steps for us to be able to answer the following questions. You hear, as the councilor said earlier, about equity, equity, equity. Equity lens, the questions that we are formulating, like what is an equity lens? Question number one is, what is the standard of excellence that we want to provide for our communities, right? That's the first question. Who is informing that? And this year we took several steps at answering that question. We had several listening sessions, several informal conversations, honest conversations with residents that are represented particularly in my Equity and Inclusion Cabinet, so that we can have an actual answer for how do we get to a place of excellence of services. Second question is, who is currently getting that standard of excellence? We're not there yet. We're not able to answer those questions yet because we had to centralize some data collections, as you'll be hearing during the budget hearings. Who's not historically received those services? Some of us already know those answers. We want to make sure that we're able to collectively know what those answers are, and then get to a place of how do we actually ensure that everyone is getting access to those services in an equitable manner. So with that being said, I will just hand it off to our team, who as an organizing principle is always thinking about people. And I encourage you to ask the people around you who may not know what a budget breakfast is, but know that our purpose and our role here is to ensure that we're serving people and that we're going back to basics. So next person. You have it? Thank you all so much.
Okay, thank you, Mariangeli. So now we're going to have a couple of cabinet members and folks from the mayor's team come up and talk about, again, what's actually in this budget. We're sort of viewing this budget across the categories that you see represented on the screen, so we'll have some folks come up and share a little bit of detail. So we'll start with our first group, sharing some information about the investments in this budget around creating intergenerational opportunity. So I'd like to invite Chief Jose Masso, Superintendent Mary Skipper, and Lou Mandarini up to talk through those.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm very excited because this budget really represents such a deep investment in family and youth. And so I just want to recognize Mayor Wu's leadership for that, because as superintendent, that makes my job so much easier. It really is collectively the city working together for our young people and our families. There's many things that excite me, but one of them is a deep investment in early education and universal pre-K. we know that the best way to not have learning gaps is to never start them. And we know from research it's very clear that the more we do with our children early, in helping our parents to be their first teachers, in helping to strengthen our family and our community-based organizations that support our families and children, and the more that we can create seats for families and for our youngest students, the better we will do in BPS, the stronger we will be as a city and a district. And so the $4 million to be able to add 350 UPK seats with Krista McSwain's leadership, I'm very excited. Our team's excited because we know the difference that will make to our children and our families. I think on the BPS budget, this is a process that we start back in November, and it really is a collective process that represents from our schools and our communities, their values, their priorities, that rolls up to a BPS investment that will be $26 million. And that $26 million is really a deep investment that I'm grateful for, because it's very unique that a city does that level of investment in our children. And for us, it's really about educational equity and excellence. And it's about ensuring for particular populations that have been underserved traditionally here, our Black and Brown students, our special education students, our multilingual learners. It's really how we're going to take that $26 million and deeply invest. So one of the buckets, and the largest bucket, is a multi-year investment of $9.6 million, which is really around our inclusive setting. So we are transforming BPS for our students with disabilities, for our multilingual learners with disabilities, and for our general population to be a stronger, more inclusive setting where all students can have the opportunity to reach excellence and to get the skills that they're going to need to thrive. And so that's going to be a deep initiative that we're going to be working on with our teachers union over the next several years. The second large investment of $6.5 million is specifically around our multilingual learners. And for this population, we see the investment in several areas. One is around expanding access to native language. Another is about expanding bilingual education, and also a deep investment in social emotional learning in the form of social workers, bilingual social workers, particularly for our SLIFE students who are our most traumatized students coming in. So that is going to help us be able to move the needle for multilingual learners in ways we haven't been able to in the past. Additionally, we're doing a deep investment in equitable literacy. And our equitable literacy is a strong foundation of academics so that students, all students, are gaining the skills with culturally affirming curriculum and non-bias based types of conversation and discussion and work on literacy that has not happened previously in BPS. And so that's going to be deep training for our teachers, as has been going on. And this 3.5 is going to enable us to really take that to the next level. Other types of investments, just quickly, early college and career, we want that to be an and we want that to be for all high school students. So that's right. The tuition-free community college, along with this investment in early college and the career pathways, is going to ensure that the inequities that currently exist at the high school level, that those start to go away. So we're very appreciative of that. And then finally, $1.2 million will be going toward our social emotional, and that really is around our restorative justice practices with coaches. It's our equity specialists in our networks. It is deep training for mental health and trauma-informed practice, along with the Health Commission. These are going to be the things that enable us to get to that point of educational equity and excellence that we strive for every one of our students. So I want to thank the mayor. And I also want to thank our city councilors because they've been partners in the work, going out to the schools with me as I've started my journey here again, going out, being able to see the needs and see the work. So thank you very much. And again, thank you for the recommended budget.
Good morning, everyone. I'd also like to echo Superintendent Skipper's statements and also express my gratitude for the investment and the focus on our young people and our families. I like to consider myself to be a lifelong youth worker. Although I have aged up a little bit, I may not be as cool. But as a parent, I know the importance of this. And with that, I also like to acknowledge some of the youth organizers and advocates that have advocated for decades for the importance of young people. So I also want to acknowledge them as well. Thank you. So I'm excited. So combined with a change to how lifeguards are paid and hired in FY23, the FY24 budget will add $500,000 for swimming lessons to ensure citywide accessibility. Yes, absolutely. This is important. We have some adults in this room who have expressed to me personally that they themselves do not know how to swim. So to be able to double down on this, yeah, this will now. I'm not calling you out. This will provide an opportunity for stronger partnerships with outside organizations, an opportunity to provide swim kits to participants, which will include swimsuits, culturally appropriate swim caps, goggles, and much more. So we're super excited about that. Second point is between BCYF and Age Strong, a combined over $900,000 investment will add senior-oriented programming at BCYF centers across the city. Again, yep. Again, this is another opportunity to meet the needs of our community members. We've listened to our residents and our leaders at Age Strong and our stakeholders and have been able to propose intentional investments that will provide the high-quality programming that our older adults deserve. And last but not least, and due to the leadership and the forward thinking of President David Leonard, I'm grateful that this budget would also include building new libraries and also allow branches across the city to be open from 9 to 5 on Saturdays and to be open later during the week. And the sentiment of the mayor of putting families first, this is definitely doing that, and this is leading with our values. So I'm thankful for that, and thank you for your time. Thank you.
So I'm dealing with the portion of this that has to do with job training and skills training and workforce development, specifically in life sciences. This budget calls for a $500,000 commitment to career pathways, training, and certification for opportunities in life science. Special thank you to the mayor for making life sciences and pathways into it for our neighborhoods a special priority since we've begun. A special shout out to our Chief of Policy and Planning, Mike Firestone, our Worker Empowerment Cabinet Chief Trinh Nguyen, who have spent an enormous amount of time engaging with life sciences industry here in Boston about how we find pathways for our kids and our residents to make their way in. I mean, life sciences is obviously an important, vital anchor industry in Boston, but it is one where we need to do some real work to make sure that our residents and our neighborhoods are engaging and getting into it. So this is a commitment that speaks to that. It also speaks to the question of, and one that we hear all the time in the mayor's office, where is the workforce of tomorrow going to come from? Where is the workforce going to come from? Where are the workers going to come from? And that's true of many, many industries, but especially true of life sciences. This commitment goes to those two principles. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Mary Lou and Jose. Now I'd like to invite up, Reverend Mariama White-Hammond, BHA Director Kate Bennett, Chief Yasha Franklin Hodge, Chief of Planning Arthur Jemison, Mari Angela, you got to come back, and Sheila Dillon to talk about the investments in green and growing.
Thanks, everybody. Great to be here. The city and the mayor are walking the walk with respect to climate change by proposing a $50 million investment to help decarbonize the BHA portfolio. And in order to help us reach the goal of going fossil fuel free by 2030, this is a huge down payment on this work. We're very appreciative and excited about it because not only will it reach a climate change goal, but it will bring greener, healthier, and more comfortable homes to our residents. So thanks to everyone.
So in the EOS cabinet, we are excited that there is an $87 million investment for parks, maintenance, and building. So I know particularly a number of the city councilors have asked me about where their park is and how is it going to move along. We also are hiring new project managers so that we can assign parks to be designed and move them along. And yes. And in particular, I just want to lift up a major investment in Moakley Park, which for many of us who know that and live near there, it would help. It's helping us to get ready to close a major flood pathway that affects two major housing developments in our neighborhood, and is the reason that my husband says we may have waterfront property if we don't get that closed up. So we're looking forward to that big investment, and also to figuring out how we can find a way for there to be job opportunities and construction of that work.
Good morning, everybody. So we have a lot going on our streets, and we ask our streets to do a lot of things. They are supportive of our economic growth and development in the city. They are really essential to meeting our sustainability and climate goals, and they are the places that connect people as they go about their daily lives. We ideally, safely and conveniently get them where they need to go. So some of the investments we're making to support this vision of what our streets can be. The city's green infrastructure program will be supported by $750,000 to help us replace pavements with plantings, and money to support maintenance, long-term maintenance of these new green spaces. We will improve the state of good repair on our streets and make them better places for transit, walking, and biking. The capital plan will add $58 million to improve public ways and public transit, and will be supported by $8 million in existing ARPA funding to make Boston the best biking city in the country, and another $8 million to support walkable neighborhoods. The Blue Bike system serves more than 3 million trips a year, and this budget funds the addition of electric bikes into the system, as well as 10,000 $5 discounted memberships to help grow use and accessibility of that system. And for those residents who drive, we are supporting the switch to electric vehicles with more than $1 million of investment into public charging infrastructure throughout the city, and support to help us apply for and bring in additional federal dollars to grow that program even further. And lastly, I hear from residents about safety concerns absolutely everywhere I go in Boston. And this budget adds more than $30 million in new street safety investments, as well as personnel for design and construction. This will support infrastructure such as speed humps, raised crossings, safer intersections that will deliver streets that are safer and calmer, protecting especially our most vulnerable road users, including older adults, children, people with disabilities. This money is designed not only to support this construction, but to accelerate the delivery of these projects and make sure that we're delivering safer streets in every single neighborhood in Boston. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Arthur Jemison, Chief of Planning. So I'm here to highlight a much smaller element than some of the other ones. So in this budget, for the first time, there's a small allocation that's focused on helping us create the Planning Advisory Council, which is a new thing announced in the State of the City. It's a way for me to work more closely with my built environment partners, like the chief who was up here just a moment ago, on streets, parks, all the things that make the city great. This group will allow us to convene them, bring that group together, and sort through all the key issues that help us deliver environmental justice through all the different parts of our building industry. So I'm excited about that, and I wanted to make sure that was highlighted as part of this. Mary Angeli?
I'm here on behalf of my amazing, excellent colleague, Sugan Irawu, the Chief of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion, and I'm happy to announce that building on over $12 million in federal funding, the city will add an additional $250,000 for businesses not covered by those in federal grants. We'll also add capacity to the Offices of Supplier Diversity to ensure we are growing our WMBE businesses. Thank you.
Good morning. It's great to be here. Sheila Dillon, Chief of Housing for the City of Boston. So in this budget, the Mayor's Office of Housing will continue to use ARPA, our maintenance budget, and many other resources to create and preserve affordable housing and programs throughout the city. I'm here today just to highlight some of the new investments. So they include increasing the city's voucher program, which has been incredibly successful, really reaching out to our lower income families and individuals to get them the rent support that they need. It will continue to allow us to continue to fund families and individuals that are having a hard time paying their rent. I would like to think, I think the mayor mentioned, we are still feeling the effects of the pandemic. People still have lost wages. They are still struggling to pay rent. And this program, for short investments, household by household, are really keeping people housed by making them current and then working with them on a plan for their future. So it will fund that. It's going to increase the resources we have to respond immediately with our first responders when there's a fire, when there's a community violence episode. And most recently, when migrants arrive in Boston with no place to go, we have to have an immediate response. So we're putting more money in that line item so we can be there when people need it the most. So it's really very, very much focused on helping people in times of crisis. We are also working really hard to expand, working with the BPDA, Arthur Jemison, on expanding the ADU program in Boston, accessory dwelling units. Accessory dwelling units are a great way to increase our housing supply and help families stay together by building another unit for a family member. So we're getting a resource, an investment in this program to start a loan program and provide technical assistance to people that want to build ADUs in their backyards or garages or attached to their homes. So we're really excited about taking this resource, this investment, and really expanding this program citywide. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now I'd like to invite up Dr. Bisola Ojikutu, Commissioner Cox, Commissioner Burke, Shu, Benford, and Chief Hooley to talk about some of the investments in our budget for health and safety.
So good morning, everyone. I want to start by thanking Mayor Wu for really centering public health in the work that we all do. What does that mean? It means highlighting and amplifying the health and well-being of communities. And it's something that we do across all departments. I bet you all didn't all know that you were public health experts, but you are. It's something that's obviously very important. So within this budget, we are basically focused on strengthening public health within the city of Boston so that we can provide the necessary services that we need to make sure that our residents are safe. I also want to thank our city councilors. So many of you have been working really hard in public health and supporting our efforts at the Boston Public Health Commission. So let me just highlight 3 investments that I think are important. As you all are aware, we do have a low threshold housing program, a Housing First program that's been extremely critical to what we've done on Mass and Cass, providing shelter to individuals who are dealing with substance use disorder as well as co-occurring mental health issues. More than 500 people have gone through this system and many of them are on the road to recovery. It's really something that's been highlighted nationwide. So I just want to make sure that that's something that we amplify and that we are able to sustain going forward as a city. And we'll be working very closely with Chief Dillon on this process. So that's $3.3 million. Secondly, it's so important, as you'll hear from public safety and my colleagues at BPD, that we make sure that we are there for our residents when they're in their most critical moment. When they are there, we are there when there is violence within our communities. So we need to have 24/7, 365 support. So we're establishing an enhanced trauma response system, which I think will be very critical and certainly community has asked for. And then lastly, I want to go back and highlight something that Mayor Wu said earlier. COVID-19 amplified and highlighted many problems in our society, but one that maybe we don't talk about enough is just the weakness within our public health infrastructure. This is a national problem, okay? It's not here in Boston necessarily. Honestly, I think we are stronger than most. However, we need to remain strong. We need to continue to build. We need to be even more resilient and even more prepared if and when, emergencies and pandemics occur. So thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Today, I'd like to just focus on one particular budgetary item of consideration that we put forward with the mayor. Safety and well-being of our youth and everyone in the city is certainly a priority to the police department, the city, and certainly the mayor's put that out there in general. And so we're trying to do some things that are a little different in some way to make sure we support all of the city, particularly our youth. And today we're putting forth, under the leadership of the mayor, a $582,000 set aside for the purposes of increasing our social workers in district stations to help young people with Youth Connect. And Youth Connect provides culturally responsive and trauma-informed mental health services to the youth. They're a quite valuable partner that we've found throughout the city, and hopefully the point is to expand it throughout all areas of the city eventually, so that we can have, young people can have more access to mental health services as well as their families that they work with in general. They have been, very, very important in at least in our involvement as a referral for young people throughout the city in the areas where we do have it, but by increasing the social workers that work with the police department and an additional supervisor throughout the city, we think it will go a long way to help prevent some of the violence that maybe, before it ever occurs in the first place. And so I thank you, City Council, for listening and your consideration in this matter. And thank you, Mayor, for your leadership around this. Thank you.
First, I'd like to thank Mayor Wu. Thank you for your support of the Boston Fire Department and the City Councils also. The money that we're seeking today is for facilities. I believe constituent services is a very big part of our profession. There's a firehouse in every neighborhood in this city, and people know to come to the firehouse for safety or just to interact with the firefighters. So we're asking for $28 million for facilities. Some of these firehouses were built in the 1800s, the early 1900s. They need a lot of work. They need roofs. They need kitchens. We have kitchens that are on the main floor where the trucks are. So when these firefighters eat their meals, their main condiment is diesel particles from the truck, so it's a very unsafe environment. We'd really like to update the firehouses, repair the ones that are in existence, and we thank you all for this recommendation for the facilities for the Boston Fire Department.
Morning, Mayor, councilors, everybody. My name is Jimmy Hooley. I'm Chief of Boston EMS. And yes, as a Bureau of the Boston Public Health Commission, we're also receiving funding for critical, uniformed, and administrative support for our operations, the provision of emergency medical services. The administrative support, some of those positions which had been eliminated in some layoffs years ago, we're getting a couple of those back now, which is critical, because the amount of work that's involved in sustaining our operations, which has grown dramatically over the last 10 years and continues to go up as our population goes up, as Boston's resident population and our service population, what we see come into work, play, study here every day, right? But let me try to make this quicker. But the administrative things will help us with that. It's also going to help us with the fact that we work with, almost on a daily basis, every cabinet, bureau, program that you see here and people who aren't here today. We rely on each other, all of us, whether it's setting up vaccine clinics in the BPL, or whether it's helping us to recruit, or you name it. I could go on all day about that. Sharing data from us with all these, with transportation, with all the programs in public health, with things as far as targeting outreach. It's endless. It's labor intensive, and so we really do appreciate getting some extra positions for this, because that is going to help us to do a better job to serve all of our partners across the city and the commission as well. Some additional uniform spots, they're sorely needed. It's no secret we have probably close to 40 vacancies now in our uniform ranks that we're desperately looking to fill. And by investing in a couple more positions here, that's going to help. Because in years ago, we're not going to rely on the old matter. We would post positions, and 200-300 people would apply for 30 positions here. Now we can just throw our hands up and say, oh, well, they're not there. No, what we're doing now And what we've been doing for the last 2 years, in coordination with the city, is we're going out to the neighborhoods, going out to the communities. The people are here. People here who have the skills, who have the language skills, who have the culture capacity already, who already ride the T. They don't need a class on where T stations are. You know, they've been to BPS. They're here. We're already partnering in some schools in Boston to do an EMS Ready program. And again, if we're going to expand this, I've got to be able to reassign some good EMTs from the neighborhoods to go out and help with that. So this is going to be great in investing to us to achieve these goals so we can brag about our accomplishments next year. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Shumain Benford, Emergency Management. I want to join the chorus in thanking the mayor for her visionary leadership in this space and helping us to advocate and fight for the resources that we think that we need, most importantly, to have in place to be able to support our residents. I also want to thank the council for the work that you do and obviously the pending work in getting this budget passed. The investment of $1.2 million in the space of violence prevention will be extremely helpful for the BHA community in ensuring that we're able to institute some programming around violence prevention as well as in public safety, and a nod back to the mayor and all of our colleagues across city government for ensuring that the BHA community is one community that is factored in and included in all of our resources and all of our ideology and thinking on how we provide services across the entire city. So I do thank you in that space. And Council, I just want to acknowledge you, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson. You are liked. You are valued, and you are appreciated. And that's important because we spend a lot of time talking about those investments in young people, but we also know that adults struggle in this space as well. So I don't think any of us do this work for pats on the back, but I do want you to know that you are appreciated and valued. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, everyone. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to invite up Chief Brianna Malore, Chief Cara Elliott Ortiz, Chief Garces, Chief Irish, and Lou, you again, coming back up, to talk about some of the exciting investments we have in constituent services.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Brianna Malore, Chief of Community Engagement. Oh, thank you. Just for you all today. Thank you so much to the mayor for the deep investment into constituent services. I like to call her a constituent service queen. We are an administration that really believes that for us to be able to get the big things right, we have to focus on the nuts and bolts, which is the core of my cabinet. So we see a deep investment into 311 with additional staff to ensure quality control, as well as actually moving our office to make sure that there's space for expansion and expansion in technology as well. So excited about that, yes. We also see the administrative support that in the recommended budget to increase our ability to go out further in communities, expand our City Hall and the Gold Truck, and also our Love Your Block program. We really want to focus on expanding capacities in those areas so we can reach our most vulnerable constituents. We also have in this budget our little sneak peek into our civic summit that we plan to focus on really empowering the residents that we have in the city of Boston to, training tools on how to participate in city government. We know that we have residents that feel a little disconnected. How do we bring them in? And we're really focusing on that in the civic summit. Also, we have a deep investment into placemaking. We know that our streets are a very powerful place. They're not just for driving cars, they're for creating community spaces like block parties, and that's the cornerstone of democracy. So we look forward to expanding our neighborhood placemaking program as well. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the mayor and the budget office and Chief Gruffenberger for the proposed investments. Technology underpins our ability to serve our residents. It's what allows us to communicate with our residents, hundreds of thousands of requests, and being able to deliver. And I think that based on the conversations that we've had with the council, we know that there's a need to be even better about how do we serve the people that are not even complaining, the people that we're not hearing from, and understanding the conditions of the assets that we need to support the experience of our residents throughout all of our neighbors. So it is exciting to announce that we are proposing an investment in our systems that manage address management, that enable permitting and licensing. You cannot get a permit if you're a working family and you're near a new home, and if we don't have a record of that address, you won't be able to get a permit. In the kind of core systems that allow us to communicate with our residents, and since I'm here, we're also making investments in the core technology that supports public schools, public safety, to bring 10 gigabits per second to all of our public schools, which is really exciting. So.
Hi, still Lou Mandarini, still a senior labor advisor. The second time up at bat here, I want to talk about the thing in city government that is probably the most important thing of all, which is our people, and rebuilding our people, because the people who work for the city and the people who deliver city services are what make the city of Boston run. So this budget has significant investments in increasing staffing. It's targeting two specific areas: openings, holes that we need to plug, and some of the attrition that we've seen in the last 7 years. Some real long-standing talent, people with great knowledge, have left. Those holes need to be plugged. Specifically, we are enhancing staffing in our registry and in the Inspectional Services Department that deals with all of our permitting. We're also creating two career paths one for school bus drivers, which is a chronic shortage. That will enable people from the community to be trained to get, not only the license but the school imprint, where they can drive for our district or for any other district, and also career pathways in wastewater management. So, thank you.
Hi everyone, Cara Elliott-Ortega with Arts and Culture. As the weather is reminding us this week, it's time to get outside for some community events. The events that our residents plan throughout the year bring joy, expression, celebration, and are part of our community health and well-being. That's why this budget will also add staff to make the event permitting process easier to navigate. Concierge positions will collaborate across city departments to walk residents through the permit process, and will be on call to make sure everyone can create events for community connection. So whether you're planning festivals or concerts or block parties or anything where we can get outside and have fun and be together and connect, we're really excited to help make that happen. Thank you.
I think I'm last. Dion Irish, Chief of Operations. I also want to join everyone in thanking the Mayor for your leadership in this budget, and City Council for informing what we put in these recommendations. In case you all didn't know, we actually have 3 Christmases in Boston. We have the regular Christmas, we have Alston Christmas, and today is like budget Christmas, right? So we're quite happy with what's in this budget in terms of preventative maintenance for our facilities. I think, the council, you all know we've been working on facilities that are not able to provide the services that are intended. And so, we have a new focus in this budget to not only build new things, but to maintain the things that we have. So we're very excited about that. Thank you.
Okay, so that concludes today. Thanks everyone for joining. I know it's just scratching the surface of what's included in this plan. So thanks for being here. Thanks to the mayor and cabinet and city colleagues for being here, and to the city council as well. Looking forward to working with you on the next phase, kicking that off very soon. So thanks everyone.